Welcome to the Pinning Combination Podcast. I'm KJ Pilcher alongside Dick Briggs. Ready to talk a little college wrestling here as D1 had their qualifying tournaments this last weekend, and now their national stage is set as far as the qualifiers go. We'll find out later this evening on Wednesday the actual brackets and the path for each wrestlers, and we'll talk about that next week before the tournament. But the other stages are set as well, and we'll see that action this week with the D2 and D3 championships. But well, let's start in with this last weekend with the D1 conference tournaments, the Big 10, Big 12, obviously leading the way. And I tell you what, I think Michigan really turned some heads this weekend, showing that it wasn't just a two-horse race at all.
Yeah, I think they caught me off guard. I mean, I knew they were good, but I really thought it was going to be Penn State, Iowa in the hunt. And boy, Michigan really hit on all cylinders for the most part.
Yeah, I think the biggest knock against Michigan in recent years is they've had a lot of talent, but just when it comes to March, they just really haven't performed well. But they put that to rest this last weekend. I mean, they were fantastic. I think they had two champs in Nick Suriano at 125, and then Miles Amin with a big victory over Aaron Brooks that just about pretty much sealed it for the Wolverines. To win a title there. They had some guys that, wrestled, beyond their seeds, really. You look at Luan at 157 that made the finals against Ryan Deacon. Cameron Amin at 165. That knocked off Karchla of Ohio State in the semis and ended up second at 165 behind Marinelli. And all this happens with Stevan Micic getting beaten his first match.
Go figure, yeah. And you talk about above and below seeds. I kind of plotted it out, and Michigan wrestled 13 above their seeds, 13 spots above their seeds. So they really skied over it. Penn State was 3 below their seed, and Iowa was 7 below their seed. So I mean, yeah, Michigan just soared, hit on all cylinders, like you said.
Yep. Even what was even cool too, for somebody that likes parity, I like seeing new kind of teams into the fold. For the most part, Northwestern on Sunday was fourth. I can't remember exactly where they finished, if they were able to hold off Nebraska. Let me double check, but I mean, seeing Michigan, Penn State, and Iowa that were battling out, and then Northwestern was fourth there for a little while. They ended up finishing fifth overall, 1 point back of Ohio State for fourth. I mean, that was pretty neat to see as far as I was concerned.
Right. I mean, yeah, Northwestern, man. Again, who would have suspected them to be that high? So good, like you said, nice to see some teams and that have been in parity or whatever, and stepping up, and so that's cool. Yeah.
We'll touch on the Iowa performance. First off, 10 qualifiers. So they didn't have to worry about the at-large stuff coming out. They left Lincoln knowing all 10 were heading to Detroit. Of course, at the top of the list, Alex Marinelli winning his fourth Big Ten title, became the eighth Hawkeye to do that. First one since somebody that you know well, Mark Ironside in 1998, who won 4 titles at 134 pounds for Iowa. Little different with the COVID situation. He had 5 years to win 4. Didn't win it his freshman year when he entered the tournament undefeated, but won the last 4 years, so 4 in a row for him. But both Marinelli and Tom Brands kind of mentioned that this is fine and dandy, but there's one title that's eluded him here the last couple of years, and that's a national title, and that's the one that that has priority, I guess.
Well, and I would expect that out of those two. I mean, they're that's not their end goal, but we need to celebrate that. Four Big Ten titles, and since since Mark Ironside, at least at Iowa, since Mark Ironside,
right,
which Mark graduated in 1998. So, man, that's a long time. So now, help me out. Is Spencer still in line to do that next year?
No,
he
I know when they're at Michigan State, he lost to Tomasello in the semis. I can't remember. Sebastian Rivera beat him up in Minnesota in the finals. In a real crazy overtime match. And then, of course, last year he beat Devin Schroeder and tore his ACL. So he's kind of the flip flop of Marinelli a little bit, winning it at the NCAAs and not at the Big Tens. But,
right. So that goes to show right there that what an accomplishment that is. Spencer really the best wrestler twice with the Hodge Award winner, hasn't been able to accomplish that. So again, that's not the end goal, but let's celebrate it for sure.
Yeah, and especially when you think about the Big Ten and how tough it is, and there are going to be some guys. You had All-Americans that got beat out this year. When you look at somebody like Chad Red that they got beat out, and he very well could place in Detroit. That's just how tough the tournament is, and yeah, you're right. It's a very good accomplishment, even though not their end goal, but still something that should be lauded,
right?
For sure.
With Red, to help out a little bit with people listen, Red was not an automatic qualifier. He did qualify with the at-large. So that's who, KJ, you're referring to as being a finalist that didn't automatically qualify. So absolutely. Holy cow, it's so deep, the Big Ten. Here's another one. Locally for us, our Western Dubuque wrestler, Max Lyon, was not an automatic qualifier, and looked like didn't have a very good tournament at all, and was still an at-large bid when he placed, I think, 13th.
Yep.
So that tells you how deep the Big Ten is. The 13th is a qualifier. So
yeah, and that's interesting there, where 12 automatic berths out of 14 teams, 14 guys, and then they ended up. Boy, I almost want to say, I'd have to look back. They might have gotten all 14 guys in the tournament.
I meant to do that and I forgot to. I was curious myself. So
yeah, we can dissect that a little bit next week too. But yeah, like you said, Max Lyon, another example of just how deep this the field is year in and year out. Just kind of going down the results. Drake Ayala ended up getting 8th at 125. Was very, very close to reaching the semifinals. Lost a tough one to Wisconsin's Eric Barnett in the last second by a point. Barnett ended up finishing runner-up to Soriano. And then Ayala lost another not a close one, but lost another match to Patrick McKee, who definitely has his number. I think the 4th time that he's beaten Ayala this season. but he's going to go. Austin DeSanto, a runner-up to Roman Bravo Young of Penn State. Again, another match like their duel in Iowa City. They just he got in on shot after shot, but just couldn't finish. They exchanged escapes, and then Roman Bravo Young pulls it out in the third. Got neutral danger exposure on DeSanto for a takedown, and that ended up being the difference. I tell you, I see DeSanto work so hard and get so close, and it just can't come through and get that finish things off for a takedown against Bravo Young.
Yeah, it's like he gets in and then isn't able to make the turns, or it's like he almost shoots with not the intent of scoring, or he's too cautious. I'm not sure what the issue is there, but you're exactly right, man. He's got to find a way to finish if he's going to want to stand on that top step. Somebody
asked me about this last night, and he has such a high pace, and he seems like he's going, full throttle all the time. And then when he gets in on Young, it looks like he becomes more methodical, yeah. and he doesn't just, kind of keep going. Maybe he's worried about getting caught, if he gets out of position and Roman Bravo Young catches him. But it looks like he gets in and then he starts getting methodical, and then, Bravo Young gets into that shin whizzer, and he's just unable to finish. I kind of compared it to, like when a batter's in a slump and sometimes you're thinking too much, or you're trying to do too many things, where the best way to get out of a slump is just go up there and swing as hard as you can. Yeah. Maybe he needs to just kind of shed being methodical once he gets in there and just,
yeah, maybe
just swing hard.
Take that fear of giving up that takedown, because it hasn't worked this way. So why not? Like you said, swing for it. And if you get it, then you can, but DeSanto's defense, bravo to him. He's been there for most of the season. He dinged up a little bit there, but he's, one of the Hawkeyes that's been there in the lineup, getting after it. And, so good for him. And that RBY is so fast. I mean, he can come get behind you. Like, was it last year in the finals when he did that go behind? It looked like he just flew behind him, didn't even touch the ground. He was all extended, and that might have been on fix. I don't remember, but it was such a, he's so fast. You have to respect that, I guess. And that's what Austin's doing. So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm assuming it's going to go 1, 2, 3 with Roman Bravo Young fix and DeSanto being third. So, probably will have fixed. That'll be a huge hurdle to clear if it plays out that way next week. 141, we didn't get the rematch with Ironman and Nick Lee. Ironman ended up medical forfeiting in the final. Kind of an interesting deal. Speaking of 1, 2, 3s, you had Nick Lee, Ironman, and Sebastian Rivera all there, and not one match between the three of them, because Sebastian Rivera medical forfeited in the semis to Ironman. Ironman did the same in the finals to Nick Lee. So we're going to have to wait another week to get those possible matchups in Detroit.
Right. And I guess we could, maybe now's the appropriate time to address the elephant in the room. Since we're there, and there was 4, I'm talking about the medical forfeits, and it's not just Iowa, though Iowa's were more obvious, because they were quite a few of those were on the front side. There were 4 medical forfeits on the front side, 3 by Iowa, and then Rivera. So so you've got those 4. Then you got, I counted 24, but I think I saw somewhere else there was 26 actually medical forfeits in the tournament, and I did count this 10 different teams. So like I said, it's not just an Iowa thing. It's across the board, and honestly, it's a bad look for wrestling. I know it has to happen. We talked about it last week happening. We figured it was going to happen at 25 and at 74, and ended up a couple other weights, and so I don't know what the answer is, but it's the people want to see those matches, and I understand there's injuries, but boy, that's a lot of medical forfeits.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the answer is, because I was talking about this last night as well, because I'm torn. I really am, because you've got some competitors like Kemmerer right now who have been, you've got guys that have been there 6-7 years, and right now they're 24, 25 years old, right? Usually if you're competing internationally, you're competing maybe 3-4 times a year, right? Maybe 5 at the most.
Right.
And you're asking these guys to compete and train and make weight for 5-6 straight months, in season, wrestling 5-6 times a month. There's a lot of wear and tear there, and these guys are, it sounds silly to say they're old when they're 24 or 25, but comparatively, they're longer in the tooth, and a lot of miles on their body. It's just not the same for them than it is, a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old. So I'm torn, because you want to see matches with Gable Stevenson wrestling, right? You want to see two guys go at it that have wrestled into overtime, like the last 2 or 3 times that they've wrestled, Ironman and Lee. You want to see those matches, and the sport needs those matches. And then again, you can understand trying to do what's best for the individuals, trying to do what's best for the team, and what's going to benefit them in the event that is supposed to matter most, right? The national tournament. The other thing that I think, Twitter is there've been so many takes on Twitter about stuff like this, and some things are said that are rather crude, and I think kind of tough for athletes to hear. Let's not forget that the majority of these decisions probably are not by the athlete. A lot of times these guys, they only know how to compete. That's what they're geared for. That's how they're wired to go out and compete, whether they've got a finger that's bent the wrong way, or a knee that's clicking, or a muscle in their back that's seizing up, or a shoulder that you can't lift up over your head. They're geared to go out there with that warrior mentality, and sometimes it takes a trainer or a coach to rein them in and say, you know what, just can't let you go. And the other thing that I think, with Iowa, and you may not get a real answer, just because they don't really like discussing this kind of thing, but I wonder if that's a lesson they learned with Matt McDonough. I think his senior year was something that I think really hurt a lot of people in the program, because he felt bad that he didn't make the podium. He had this great career, and it ends with him not even making the podium, which doesn't overshadow what he accomplished. But there's just this, that feeling that last time, didn't get it done. Could they have pulled the reins in on him a little bit and made him a little bit fresher, so he does finish in the top 8? Maybe that's something that is still in their minds, because it worked with Corey Clark. They had a different approach with Corey Clark, and that allowed him to come away with a national title. his senior year when he was
Right.
banged up.
I mean, you bring up a lot of interesting points. First of all, I'm a father of a wrestler in college right now. It's 24 years old. So, and I know it's a different level, but it's still very competitive. It's still tough on your body. Right there, you can see that. Anyway,
Yep.
So 24 years old. So, and he has avoided the injury. So, it's not been, knock on wood, right? But
yeah,
it's not been an issue there. You can also look at, you say McDonough on one side, Corey Clark in the middle, and then on the other side, Spencer Lee last year, who was injured and wrestled all the way through it. And, excuses are for wusses, right? So
right.
mentality. So you've got Iowa kind of across the board with those. So, and I'm with you. I don't know what the answer is. And it's not just Iowa. It's all of these teams in there, maybe protecting seeds, maybe protecting their wrestlers. But, if you're 24 and you sign up to wrestle, or 25, whatever Kemmerer is, and you sign up to wrestle, I don't think the rules necessarily change, but certainly training techniques need to change.
Sure.
And so, I don't know if there should be some sort of penalty for that or what to discourage that and encourage actually competing. And then if you elect to not compete, that there's a factor. It's not someone wondering, if someone's dinged up a little bit and doesn't want to wrestle an Olympic champion sort of thing. I don't know anything about the Cassiopeia. I'm not saying that at all. So, but that's those types of decisions, when they're made. So
two things that I kind of, or I guess one major thing that I kind of thought of about, okay, what do you do to kind of prevent, kind of circumventing or finding the loopholes around, being able to do this, right? What I think could be a deterrent in the future is I could see the NCAA committee not releasing allocations until after the conference tournaments. So you don't know, oh, hey, I'm in the top 6, we don't have to wrestle again, or I'm already in the top 10, we don't have to wrestle this round. We can shelve it until the national tournament. We've got our berth. Now you don't know for sure, and you're going to have to finish as high as possible. If you can't go, you can't go, and you're just going to have to kind of roll the dice, and hoping what you've done already gets you there. But if it's one of those kind of, we've already done our job, we're good, we're going to save it. It might prevent that from being an option because you may not know what you've done and it's gotten you to that point.
Right. And I think that's an answer, and I don't know if it's the total answer, but it certainly would it's got to reduce the number of medical forfeits. And I still think you're going to see some, and probably should see some. I don't think they can't go away because people are hurt, and so. But on the other hand, if it's a borderline one, now you're in that bubble area. Maybe you'll see some more wrestling going on. So yeah, I agree with that. I like that.
Let's just run down the rest of the Iowa performances. Max Murin ended up getting third. Had a tremendous win over Yaya Thomas in the quarterfinals, where he was down. It was down 2 going into the last 10 seconds, where he got just kept shooting. Got a second stall call on Thomas on the edge of the mat, and kind of a weird situation where it almost looked like Thomas thought maybe they were done, or just kind of ran out of gas, and Murin kept going. And not only did he get the stalling point, but he popped up and he was able to get a takedown right on the edge with about 3 seconds to go, and ended up winning that to make the semifinals. Pretty impressive. Of course, Yaya Thomas very good wrestler, and Mirren ends up getting third. Caleb Young, the second seed, finishing fourth. Both of his losses in the tournament was to Penn State's Brady Berge, who's down from 165. Not your typical number 10 seed. He finishes third, but it was a decent. I thought it was a decent performance by Caleb Young. But Berge looks much improved from when we saw him wrestle 165 against Marinelli in the duel at Carver Hawkeye Arena.
Right. I think the lower weight probably served him better, and the seed was not appropriate. But how do you seed a guy that arrives late and has no resume? So
that's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Michael Kemmerer got sixth, got to the semifinals and defaulted out. That's one of those situations where, there was no question there. He looked like he came off his first match. He won his first match by fall. He looked like he came off favoring his shoulder, and then I don't know if you saw the video, but you could see his shoulder pop out in his win against Ethan Smith, where he actually kind of howled a little bit when it happened. He was there, and you could see, I think there were maybe about 45 seconds left to go in the match. He ends up winning by one. And you could tell he was wrestling one armed. So it's gonna be interesting to see how he responds over this next 8 to 10 days, getting ready for the NCAAs and what he's going to be able to do in Detroit, because he looks pretty worse for wear there.
Right. And there's the example of there's when a medical forfeit is appropriate, sort of thing. I mean, if that happened, for sure. I mean, that's not even a question. So, yep.
Abe Assad finished seventh at 184. Jacob Warner finished fourth at 197. And then Tony Cassiope, a runner-up at heavyweight, had a thriller of a victory in the semifinals against Kirk Vallette of Penn State, getting a reversal to force overtime in the last minute, and then getting a takedown in overtime. Nice high crotch that he was able to finish for the win. Apparently he tweaked his knee, hurt his knee during that match, and didn't wrestle. And that's the one where that's the match that makes this such a tough one for me, just because one, Tony Cassiope's not going to gain anything from medical forfeiting. That's not going to be, he's not protecting a seed there, because all he could do is help his seed if he goes out and beats Stevenson. Losing to Stevenson's not going to change where he falls. But you don't gain anything by going out there less than 100% and possibly getting throttled by the absolute best wrestler in college wrestling. But like you said, and we talked about earlier, people want to see Gable Stevenson. Wrestling needs Gable Stevenson out on the mat wrestling regardless. And now there's very limited time to even watch him, because he's even said this is his last go around, and Detroit's going to be it. He'll leave his shoes in the middle of the mat there. And, we just missed an opportunity to see one of the greats. And that's where it's torn. God, you need that match to have him out there, but then, the risk rewards of the individual.
I mean, I'm guessing quite a few people in the arena came to see that, that match, and particularly Gable Stevenson wrestle, and they're kind of denied that, so without question, wrestling needs that. It was big, and that's why, if that didn't happen, maybe there wouldn't be so much attention on it, but that certainly called attention to the 26 medical forfeits for sure. So
yeah. And like you said, wasn't even just the Big Ten. I mean, I think out east they had quite a few as well. Weren't near as many in the Big 12, but it's definitely something that more people, for lack of a better term, took advantage of.
Right. And you're right. Every qualifying tournament had some, but I don't know that they all had them to the extent that the Big Ten did.
No.
Yeah. So
yeah.
um,
And Flow Wrestling had a chart of actually the last 5 years of that, and certainly the Big Ten beyond the other conferences during that 5 year stretch. I want to say like 2018 was nearly as bad, like maybe 24 in that tournament that year. I'd have to look, but it's not really a new problem, but I think there's just a bigger light shown on it now, just because it seems a little more prevalent. Let's head to head to Tulsa here and talk about the Big 12, because I don't know. You tell me that Iowa State and UNI were going to finish. I guess it's actually 15 automatic berths, but they each add one from the at-larges from Tuesday of this week. They combine for 17 qualifiers. I think you got to give them a thumbs up for that.
Oh, absolutely. Iowa State has 9 and UNI 8. And seeding wise, remember what we said, I think was, if I remember right, Iowa State was looking to have 8 or 9 qualifiers, and then UNI was like only 6. So, both did a real nice job to get their qualifiers in there. Actually, UNI qualified one more automatic qualifier than they were supposed to, and then added Terrell Gordon at heavyweight, so for their 8th one. So both that's neat. All 3 teams are going to have a nearly full contingent, so that's awesome.
Yeah, that's right. A couple of things that stands out. Obviously, David Carr coming away with his 3rd title. I think that's his 16th. 3-time conference champ in Iowa State history. Joining some names like Dan Gable. I think one of the Petersons are on that list. He's the first one to do it since Kyvan Gadsden. So that's a pretty cool feat. Missouri came away with the team title. I thought it was kind of interesting too with Missouri that they've been in the MAC for the last 9 years, 9 or 10 years. They won the MAC every year they were there. And then you come to find out their last year in the Big 12, they won it then too. So they actually have like 11 straight conference titles that spans like 2 tenures in the Big 12 and in that long time in the MAC. It's pretty interesting.
Right. I mean, Missouri's always been so competitive. And, ever since, the Askrens kind of started down there, and then Jaden Cox, and they've had some, huge names. And they didn't win this by a little bit. They won it by nearly 20 points, if I recall. And then over 2nd place, Oklahoma was a bit of a surprise too. So.
Right. They started strong and they were able to kind of keep it going. Iowa State had a little bit of a slow start, but worked their way back in. They ended up finishing 3rd with 110. Okie State at 107.5, and then Northern Iowa 5th at 100. Anything really kind of stand out to you about Iowa State's? We'll start with Iowa State and their finishes.
I mean, I'm gonna look at both sides of it. The positive, David Carr, man, that guy he just gets the job done. He's so fun to watch, and most of the time does it smiling. He's just a good guy, and you want the best for that guy. He's just, it's fun to watch him, and put whatever uniform you want on him. But I'm glad he's wearing an Iowa State uniform and we get to watch him. So, and then on the downside, I guess I would say Parker kind of wrestled a little under his, that surprised me. As I recall, didn't he lose first round? And then had to wrestle back so that's the two different ends of it, high and low for me with Iowa State.
Yeah, Ian Parker, the #1 seed, got upset by Jacob Butler of Oklahoma 7-4 right out of the gates, and had to come all the way back. Lost to a kid from North Dakota State in the Conci semis, and yeah, I certainly can see that as well. I know 125 was pretty tough, but I certainly thought Tarakina would go a little bit further, but when you look at who he had to wrestle, he wrestled Brody Teske in his first match, and obviously Teske won by a point. And then when he dropped down, his second match on the backside was to Lamont of Utah Valley. So, his two losses came to the #2 and #3 seed before he ended up finishing 7th, I believe. And he ended up getting an at-large bid for Iowa State. See, Ramazan qualified. I kind of had an idea that after Fix and really Biscaglia, I think Biscaglia had kind of separated himself from the field a little bit. The rest of the field, it was wide open 3 through 6 there at 133, and Ramazan was able to take advantage and came away with a 3rd place finish and ends up going to the NCAA tournament. That's a guy that you'd be glad to get a few points out of if you're Iowa State.
Right. So wrestled above his seed, and actually, what was the score with Biscaglia and Fix? That was not too. It was pretty close, wasn't it?
I think it was like 6-2, maybe. Yeah, it was a decision. I think 6-2 there.
Okay.
And that's the second time they wrestled. I think in the duel it was 5-1. So, Fix does kind of wrestle some tight matches and stuff, but hey, you're within a shot if you're wrestling somebody like Fix like that. And,
right.
Those are his only 2 losses going all the way back to mid-December. So be interesting to see what Biscaglia does at the NCAAs.
I have to tell you this: I'm a huge fan, even a bigger fan of him now after your article and his 3 majors and already accepted to med school. So that's cool for him, and that was a nice article, KJ.
Yeah, well, thank you. And you guys, anybody that's watching, you can go to thegazette.com and catch that feature leading into the Big 12 championships on him. He was a delight to talk to, and yeah, certainly prototypical student athlete when it comes down to it, for sure. Doing it right on and off the mat. One other thing to note too, Marcus Coleman got an automatic berth. He was the #2 seed at 184, finished 3rd. Lost a match in the semifinal to Jeremiah Kent of Missouri, 8-4. And the only reason why I kind of mentioned that, apparently right before the semifinal, he found out that his grandfather had passed away. So kind of wrestling with a heavy heart. You could see, I saw a picture on Twitter after his 3rd place victory. You could see the emotions from Marcus Coleman. I think he was kind of pointing up in the air, and kind of tough to compete when you get news like that, and then for him to bounce back and get 3rd place and win after that shows a lot of guts and toughness, a lot of resolve for him.
Right. And that's a tough story. Yeah. I mean, for anyone, I mean, it's tough enough, but right when you're in the middle of your competition and your goals and all that, and you still want to pursue them, and at least you think you do. And then, yeah, so that's tough, man. Geez. So he's not done dealing with that. He's going to carry that into next week too. So best of luck to him. I've enjoyed watching him this year. He's really improved, I think. So
as far as UNI goes, Parker Keckeisen, continued the reign at 184. That's 4 straight Big 12 championships, that weight class, with Drew Foster, Taylor Lujan, and now Parker Keckeisen, his second Big 12 title, joins Foster and Lujan as the only other multiple time conference Big 12 champions. Of course, the caveat there is they've only been part of the Big 12 for a half dozen years or so. But still pretty good feat. And he is, I think he had a bonus points in every single victory there, a major decision all the way through. So he's good performance there, and he's rolling into Detroit.
And as I recall, he's only a sophomore, correct? So he could have 2 or 3 more years to win that 84 title. So very impressive by UNI, especially. And he's so fun to watch. He's so aggressive, and man, if you like wrestling and you like points, points on the board, there's your guy to watch.
I was talking to Doug Schwab, and I kind of asked him to compare, is there anybody that he compares to that you've coached in the past? And he's like, well, I don't really want to go down that road. He still has a lot of time left, but he just made a reference to, he reminds me of some of the guys I wrestled with, referring to his wide open, high paced, versatile attacks, being able to hit a lot of different attacks and just continuously attacking. And I think that says a lot. And Schwab also mentioned the one thing that he learned last year. Remember when he got to the semifinals and lost a really tight match to Aaron Brooks, who ended up winning it. And then he came back and got third. He proved to himself he could win it. Now he's lost twice to Brooks this year in close matches, but he knows that he's right there. And that's somebody that you got to keep an eye on here next week, because I know there's Aaron Brooks. I know Miles Amin just beat Brooks in the Big Tens, but Parker Keckeisen is a guy that very well could be wrestling on Saturday night, and it's not he's a contender to win it all.
Right. And I don't know what I don't know what a better seed is, to be seeded 4th probably on a mean side, or to be 3rd on Brooks's side. But maybe Brooks, he knows he's right there with him. So we'll see if he ends up with a 3rd, 4th, or 5th seed, or where he lands there. So
of course, those brackets come out later today, so we'll be able to see, and we'll break that down next week. But that will be interesting to see where he kind of falls and what those potential matchups are, because it could be really fun, especially at 184.
Right, he's got that motor. I've never seen him tired, and he just goes and goes. He's that energized bunny.
Right. So. No, for sure. Personally, tell me what you think. At 125, seeing Teskey make the finals. I know he was a 3 seed, and Lamont got knocked off by Prada from Oklahoma, but I thought Teskey, the way Teskey wrestled, I thought that was a good sign for UNI heading into this last tournament.
Well, I think they're looking real strong at 25 and 33. That's a great sign with both those guys. So absolutely, KJ, you're right on target there. Yep. And Teskey, we know, he's capable. He's a guy that, multi-time state champ out of Fort Dodge, goes to Penn State, transfers back to UNI, closer to home. Yeah, so he's right there ready to step on the podium, I think. So,
you and I got, Derek Holschlag at 157 made it through. Austin Yant at 165 finished third in advance. Lance Runyon, remember Runyon last year qualified, but had to be scratched. He wasn't able to wrestle because of injury, I think his elbow. So now he's earned another spot to go back to the NCAAs. Hopefully he'll get a chance to compete this year where injury kind of robbed him of it last year. And the one that I really want to mention, Colin Realbuto at 149 comes away with a third place finish there. His only loss of the tournament was to Caden Gefeller of Oklahoma State. And Realbuto even picked up a win over Jarrett Dagan, 8-6 in the third place match. So a really good performance there from Colin.
Agreed. He was fifth seed, finishes third, and you and I had quite a few people that wrestled above their seed. And as a matter of fact, you mentioned Holschlag, who wrestled one above his seed, and that was the cutoff line for automatic qualifiers. So by him placing sixth rather than seventh, and that was my pick to hopefully wrestle above his seed last week. So he did, and he qualified, and yeah, so Realbuto did a nice job for sure, and as did many other Panthers. So.
And the most Panther qualifiers since 2008. So that's a nice job there by Schwab and his wrestlers to do that. Now, any last thoughts about D1 championships before we head over to D2 and D3 with their championships coming up?
Nope, I think we're good there. Just like I said, fun to see a lot of bodies from the three state schools. So
D2s and D3s, they'll have their national championships this weekend. The only thing I'll mention really quick about D2s that'll be down in St. Louis. Upper Iowa had just one qualifier, and Tate Murdy at 141 pounds. Kind of a tough draw right out of the gate. He'll have Finley's second seeded Branson Proudluck, who's 26-1. Murdy's 13-2. So that's the lone peacock in the field. So he'll have, like I said, kind of a tough opening match. And
it's a pigtail match to boot. So it's, or that first round that only has two, however you want to call it. So.
And the only state, the only other state, former state wrestlers in the field, Josh Portillo, he wrestled at Clarion Goldfield Dows. He's the number 6 seed at 125. He's 18-5 for Nebraska Kearney. He wrestles Matt Siska of Pittsburgh Johnstown in a pigtail match as well. And then Matt Malcolm is in the field. He's the top seed, a former Glenwood, former University of Iowa wrestler, also at Nebraska Kearney. He's 26-2. He'll wrestle Talon Seitz of Newberry, who's 6-3. They're at 165. And now for the biggie here in Cedar Rapids with the D3 Wrestling Championships. It kind of working on a little something, 2 years ago, the last time it was in Cedar Rapids, the unthinkable happened. Now, knock on wood, we're getting closer, should be able to come off and finally have our first NCAA championship since 2019 at the D3 level. And it's some of the regular cast of regulars, I guess, when it comes to teams. You got Wartburg, Augsburg, Wabash with 7 qualifiers each. Baldwin Wallace is in there with 7 qualifiers. Co with 6. There's also Loris as well.
4.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts coming into this event?
My thoughts are, if Wartburg doesn't win it, something's wrong. I'm serious. I mean, they have 7 qualifiers. All 7 are seeded 4th or better, and actually they only have 1 4th. So 6 of them are 3rd or better. So they've got 4 second seeds, 3 3rd seeds, and a 4th seed. So and the other teams aren't even close in terms of seeding. Like Augsburg has 5 kids seeded, but their highest seed is a 5th seed. So they have 2 5th seeds there. And Co has 6, but unfortunately they got some bad draws, some tough draws, I think. Obviously Caleb Reeves is looking good at heavyweight, and he's decent, but they just did not draw well. The others are not seeded, and where they, it's just a random draw. And so like Brock Henderson, if I remember right, has a pigtail, and then if he wins the pigtail, he gets the number 1 seed, I think, so something like that. So, and it's just those kind of things that are tough. So they're going to have to wrestle above their seed for sure, and maybe do some damage on the backside if they can't get through on that front side with some of their matches. But I think Loris has 3 kids seeded. They have 4 kids qualified, 3 seeded. Shane Legal at 81 is their top seed. He's the number 1 seed, and then Jake Breakow is from the Marengo area is seeded 6th, and then Smith there, 57-pounders 8th. So at least they've got some unseeded wrestlers in their first round. So that's my thoughts, I guess. If Warburg doesn't win it, they've really fell on their face.
Well, I mean, you see a lot of weird things happen at the national tournament. So it could bode very well for you, or it could go against you. I know obviously Co, you mentioned Henderson. I believe, didn't he win the NWCA
right
title last year?
At 33, he moved up a weight, but he was the champ last year.
Yeah. So but like you said, kind of a tough draw. If he beats Pena, I believe from the College of New Jersey, he'll have the top seed Jordan James of Mount Union later that round. Also notice that. Go ahead.
James, if I remember right, was the only returning champ from 2019 from Mount Union, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah. So that tough there. So.
And then at 133, Bryce Park, he's got the number 4 seed in the pigtail right out of the gate, as well there. So Massey of Milliken. So yeah, you might have to do some work on the backside here. Be pretty resilient if those first round matches don't go your way.
Yeah, but Will is also in there. He's a semi-local guy anyway, doing really well. But unfortunately, he has the number 2 seed.
Yeah, Dominic Reyes out of John Hopkins.
Right. So, Co's, I think they're in the hunt for a trophy if they can do it on, they can build it on the backside. But when you have a small bracket, 18-man bracket, you're going to get a seeded guy if you're unseeded. There's the only chance you don't have is if you get a pigtail, and then you'll get the seeded guy. So, so I mean, that's going to happen. You're going to have to upset someone. Plus, in the D3, it's so spread out. Seeding can be kind of maybe not all that accurate.
Sure. And there's a lot of times there aren't those crossover matches and head-to-head results to really get a good idea of. And then just mentioning Caleb Reeves, the number 2 seed at heavyweight, behind Max Bishop of Wabash. there in the field. I guess give me your top three. I know you mentioned this was Wartburg's tournament to win, but you've got Kyle Briggs, Christian Rumpf, um, David Hollingsworth there. I mean, can we see multiple titles?
Oh, I think you have the capability of doing that. Yeah, for sure. Interestingly enough, if Hollingsworth and Briggs don't repeat, that would be Coach Eric Keller's 5th and 6th consecutive returning national champion that was not able to compete or repeat. So hopefully they can break that string. So I think, and you throw Mulder in there too at 74. So they definitely have opportunities there. Joe Pinn's a local guy, somebody local up in Dubuque, seeded 3rd, I think. Is that right? At 33. So Joe's a goer, man. His only losses, I think, in D3, if I remember right, are just to the number 1 seed from North Central. So, and they've been close matches. So yeah, absolutely, they could have more than that.
Yeah, I think 2 of the guys that have impressed me here from Wartburg, especially lately, have been Kiner and Pins. The way they've competed here lately. So it'll be interesting to see what they do here this weekend at the Alliant Powerhouse in downtown Cedar Rapids. Competition starts at 11 o'clock on Friday morning. So make sure you come out and see that. It's great wrestling. It's probably wrestling at its purest form, to be totally honest with you. First session Friday at 11 o'clock. And then the second session will begin at 6 p.m. with the quarterfinals on Friday. Saturday morning. The cool thing about Saturday morning, everybody that's on the mat Saturday morning is an All-American. And it's just kind of determining places there. Championship semifinals will be at 10 o'clock Saturday morning. And then the finals are set for 7 p.m., just the championship bouts. So it's a lot of fun.
Right. It's a little bit different than the state tournament, Iowa high school state tournament, that the semifinals are Saturday morning, whereas those are all determined Friday night, and then those kids sit all the way until Saturday night.
Right.
So you're not, you're wrestling, you're still in there wrestling Saturday morning to make the finals. So
right.
You have time to relax and kind of prepare yourself or get nervous or do whatever you might do. I wouldn't know. I never had that happen. But, you're right. It's great wrestling, and D3, man, the talent is so good there. So come down and watch it. And these kids haven't had an opportunity to wrestle in an NCAA tournament, like we said, since 2019 out in Roanoke. And that's sad that happened, and it didn't happen at other levels, just at D3. So these kids they're anxious to get back and win some hardware.
Yeah, I just want to backtrack really quick. Something we forgot to mention from the Big 12 tournament. South Dakota State's Tanner Sloan was a runner-up at 197 to top seeded Stephen Buchanan of Wyoming. So Tanner Sloan, a 2-time state champ from Alvernet, is actually going to return to the NCAA championships. Cade DeVos, also from Waukee, his teammate, made it at 174. But Sloan, 20-5 overall, had won 15 straight matches until that finals match against Buchanan. Buchanan won 3-2 there. So congratulations to Tanner Sloan heading back to the NCAAs. I do want to mention here really quick, since we're just about out of time. Grandview competed in the NAIA men's tournament last weekend, and they came away with their 10th title in the last 11 years. They finished second to Life last year and ended up winning this year pretty handily by like 57.5 points. They had 3 national champions in Esco Walker at 125, Israel Caceres at 157, and Casey Randalls at 174. Marty Margolis at 165, Ben Lee at 184, and heavyweight Greg Hagan finished runner-up. And Coach Nick Mitchell was named Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, just incredible. 3 champs, 3 runners-up, 3 thirds, 2 fifths.
10 in the semis.
Yeah.
10 out of the 12 made the semis.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how you can do much better than that, but yeah, for sure. They just, you know, and I honestly think they might have wrestled below their seeds, but not much, you know. But they did. That program is just, you know, it's heads and above the rest in the NAIA. So,
yep. So we'll get ready. We'll be at the Alliant Powerhouse Friday and Saturday, covering the D3 Championships, getting ready to do some damage.
That's right.
Release the dragon.
Really?
So look forward to that. Any parting words or?
So for those that don't understand with the shirt, it's a I can say this, right? A Kyle Briggs shirt. So we can say that. So we're supporting Kyle Briggs on our show today. So
so we coordinated it to show it off here before the D3 championships. Should be fun this weekend. Make sure you come out and join us there. Since we're going to get ready to do some damage, we'll leave them with our normal tribute here and close things out.
Let's keep wrestling on the move.
Thanks for watching, everybody.